So in this video, we are going to learn how to verify email and add data to Google Sheets from Typeform submission. Let's say you have created an online form using Typeform and you want to check whether the email address entered by the person while making the form submission is valid email address or not. And if the user has entered the valid email address, only in that case you want to add the form responses into the Google Sheet. So let me tell you, you can actually automate this complete process. So in this automation, whenever we are going to receive a new form submission in Typeform, automatically using email list verify, we are going to verify the email address entered by the person in the form response. And also after verification, if the entered email address is valid, only in that case we are going to add the form responses in Google Sheet as a new row. So if you want to know how you can set up this automation, for that you just have to come with me to my screen.
So as you can see, here we are on Pabbly Connect's dashboard. Now to reach this dashboard, you will get a free sign-up link of Pabbly Connect in the description box below. By clicking on that link, you can create your free Pabbly Connect account in just 2 minutes. And after reaching to this dashboard, just click on Create Workflow and give this workflow a name. For example, I would like to name my workflow as Typeform to email list verify to Google Sheets. And then we are just going to click on create over here. So I have entered the name of the application which we are going to use in the workflow name. Instead of this, you can give any name of your choice. After naming the workflow, here you can see the workflow is open in front of us. And in this workflow, we have 2 different windows. First one is the trigger window and second one is the action window. So triggers and actions are basically those 2 concepts, those 2 principles on which this whole automation works on, where the trigger says when this happens and the action says do this. So let's start with our trigger window. Now the idea here is, first we are going to connect the form which we have created using Typeform with Pabbly Connect in the trigger window, so that every time we receive a new form submission, a new form response in Typeform, automatically the details of that form responses, that form submission data will be captured inside Pabbly Connect. And this automation workflow will trigger. After that, using this Pabbly Connect's automation, the email address which we have received with the form response, we are going to send that email address to email list verify. And we are going to check that whether it's a valid email address or not. And if it is a valid email address, in that case, we are going to enter the details of that form submission, that form response into the Google Sheet as a new row. And if the email address entered by the person is invalid, then in that case, we are not going to enter those form responses in our Google Sheet. So let's see how it is done. Starting from a trigger window, in Choose App, search for Typeform over here. Just select Typeform first. And then in trigger event from the drop down, select the trigger event as new entry. After selecting a trigger event, just click on connect and select add new connection. Now here guys, we have to connect our Typeform account with Pabbly Connect. And to make this connection, just click on this connect with Typeform button. Now here guys, because in my browser, I have already logged into my Typeform account. Here you can see Pabbly Connect has detected the same account. Just scroll down and click on this accept button. And as we click on accept, we will see our Typeform account will get connected with Pabbly Connect. After making this connection, the first thing it asks us is the form. And in the drop down, you can see a list of all the forms which we have created in our Typeform account. So in my Typeform account, you can see I have only created 2 different forms over here. And in this Pabbly Connect trigger step, you can see both of the forms in the drop down. So here guys, we have to select the form, that form submission, the form responses of which form we want to capture inside Pabbly Connect. So I have this form named as webinar registration form, and I want to receive the form responses of this form, verify the email address and add them into the Google Sheet. So I will be selecting this form over here. After selecting the form, just click on save and send test request. Now when we click on save and send test request, here you can see it has now changed to waiting for response. This means Pabbly Connect is waiting to get some new entry, new form responses, new form submission data from this form which we have created in Typeform. And we are going to do the same. What we are going to do, we are going to make a test form submission, a dummy form submission over here. So we will just go to the share section over here. And here we will just copy this link from here, go to a new tab and paste it over here. After pasting the link, here you can see this form will open in front of us. And we are going to enter the details of a test user, a dummy user. For example, the name of the person is demo user. This is the name. Then we are going to enter the email address over here. So whatever email address the user is going to enter over here, we are going to verify that same email address using email list verify. And then we are going to add the email address with the form responses to Google Sheet after verifying that email address. After email address, the next thing this form submission asks us is the phone number. So I'll just enter the phone number of a dummy user. So this is the country which I've selected, that's India. And we are going to enter a dummy mobile number. Let's click on OK. Then it is asking us for the company. So I'll name the company as, for example, Pabbly Connect and click on OK. Last thing it asks us that do you have any questions? So I'm just selecting no as the response. Submit. So just now we have received a new form submission, a new form response in the form which we have created using Typeform. And because we have connected our Typeform account with Pabbly Connect, we will see in our Pabbly Connect workflow in this trigger window, instantly within seconds, we have received some response over here just now. And in this response, you will see the details of this exact same form submission which we have just now made. Here you can see the date and time, that at what date and time this form submission was made. Then you can see the name of the form that we have received the response of which particular form's form submission. Then here you can see a list of all the questions and IDs, all of these details over here. And we will scroll down to these responses and at last we will see the form responses as well. And here it is. You can see the same email address which we have entered while making the form submission. Here you can see the same name of the user which we have entered. We will scroll down. Here you can see the same mobile number, also the same company name, and at last also the same description. So this means the step 1 of setting up this automation is completed. We have successfully captured the form responses from Typeform inside Pabbly Connect. Now after this, let's move to step 2. In step 2, we have to verify this email address which we have received from form response. And to verify the email address, we will just scroll down, come to this action window, and here in Choose App, we are going to search for Email List Verify. After selecting Email List Verify, in Action Event from the drop-down, select the action event as Single Email Verify. Then just click on Connect and select Add New Connection over here. Now here guys, we have to connect our Email List Verify account with Pabbly Connect over here. And to make this connection, we have to enter the API key of our Email List Verify account. Now you must be thinking how you can get this API key. So to get it, just log into your Email List Verify account and from the left sidebar, go to this API section. After coming to the API section, just click on this new API key button and give this API key a name. For example, I would like to name it as Pabbly Connect and click on Create. Now when we click on Create, here you can see just now a new API key is generated over here. Copy the API key from here, go to Pabbly Connect and paste it over here. And after pasting the API key, just click on Save. Now when we click on Save, here you can see our Email List Verify account will get connected with Pabbly Connect. After making this connection, the only thing it asks us is the email address. That what is the email address which we want to verify. So we want to verify the email address which we have received from form response in the trigger step. So what we have to do, we have to map this response of email which we have received in trigger window from Typeform over here in this email field. And guys, the process of mapping is very simple. Simply click on this field and here in the drop down, you can see a list of all the responses which we have received from Typeform of the form submission. And out of all of these responses from this drop down, select this response of email, the answer for email, and it will be mapped. So whatever email address the user is going to enter while making the form submission, the same email address will be received inside Pabbly Connect in this trigger window, and we are going to verify the same email address using Email List Verify. After mapping the email address, just click on Save and Send Test Request. And when we click on Save and Send Test Request, here you can see that we have received the response. And this response shows that the email address is okay, means this is a valid email address. This means the email address which we have received on form submission is a valid email address, and if the email address is valid, now we can add these details, these form responses into the Google Sheet as a new row. But here guys, we want to add a condition. Like if the email address, the response of this email list verify step is okay, in that case, we want to add the responses on Google Sheet. But if the email address entered by the user in Typeform responses is an invalid email, in that case, we don't want to add the details of that user in our Google Sheet. Now, to ensure this kind of condition, we are going to add a filter in our automation workflow. Just click on this Add Action Step button over here. And then here in Choose App, select Filter. Using Filter by Pabbly, we are going to add a condition over here in our automation workflow. And the condition will be if the response received by email list verify is OK, only in that case, this automation workflow will be continued after this filter step. And then we are going to add these responses into Google Sheet. If we receive any other response other than OK, in that case, this automation workflow will not be continued after this step. So let's set up this filter. After selecting Filter by Pabbly in Select Label from the dropdown, here you can see all the responses of previous two steps. All the responses from Typeform, also from email list verify. So we want to set up the filter on the response received by email list verify. So just click here and from the dropdown here in Select Label, select this label of response. The filter type will be equals to and the value will be OK. And then just click on Save and Send Test Request. After clicking on Save and Send Test Request, here you can see that it is showing us that the condition is true. This means this response received from email list verify is equals to OK. Now, instead of OK, if we get any other response, in that case, this is going to give us the condition as false and the automation workflow will stop here. It will not be continued after that. Now, after this, what we want to do, if the email address is verified, if the condition is OK, if this filter condition gives us a true response, in that case, we want to add these form responses in our Google Sheet as a new row. So for that, we will just scroll down and click on this Add Action Step button over here. And after that, here in Choose App, we will search for Google Sheets. Just select it. After selecting Google Sheets, in Action Event from the dropdown, select the action event as Add New Row. After this, just click on Connect and select Add New Connection. Now here guys, we have to connect our Google Sheets account with Pabbly Connect. And to make this connection, click on this Sign in with Google button. After clicking on it, just select your Google Sheets account. Then just scroll down and click on Continue. And as we click on Continue, we will see our Google Sheets account will get connected with Pabbly Connect. After making this connection, the first thing it asks us is to select the spreadsheet. And in this dropdown, you can see a list of all the spreadsheets which we have created in our Google Sheets account. Out of all of these spreadsheets, the spreadsheet in which we want to add the Typeform responses with verified emails is named as Typeform responses. So from this dropdown, we are going to select the spreadsheet in which we want to add the form responses. After selecting spreadsheet, the next thing it asks us is to select the sheet. Now here guys, in this dropdown, you can see a list of all the sheets which we have created. Right now in this Google spreadsheet, I have only one sheet named as Sheet 1. That's why here in the dropdown, you can see only one option. And in this sheet, I want to add the form responses. After selecting sheet, all the columns of data which we have created in our Google Sheet, you can see all of these columns as fields over here. Name, email, mobile number, company, and remark. So we have received all of these details from Typeform responses, and one by one we are going to map the same details, the same responses into their respective fields. Starting from name, just click here. From Typeform, from the drop-down, select the response of the name of the person and it will be mapped. So from this drop-down, we are going to select the response of name and it is mapped over here. So whatever name the user is going to enter while making the form submission, the same name will be captured inside Pabbly Connect. And if they have entered a valid email address, then the same name, the same form responses will be added as a new row in Google Sheets. After name, let's map the response of email address. So from drop-down, from Typeform responses, select and map the response of email. Then let's map the mobile number. So from the drop-down, select the response of mobile number over here. Here it is. Then let's map the name of the company. So here from the drop-down, the company name which we have entered was Pabbly Connect. So let's search for it and select and map the response. At last, the remark. So whatever remark at last the user has entered, we have to map that response over here. So we have entered the remark as no. So we will just search for that response. Here it is. The answer is this. Select it and map it. In this way, all the responses which we have received from Typeform, we are going to map all of these responses over here. And then just click on Save and Send Test Request. Now, when we click on Save and Send Test Request, here you can see we have received some response over here. And this response seems to be a positive response to us. This response shows that all the data, all the details which we have mapped over here, all of these details are now added as a new row in Google Sheets. So let's check it. We will go to our Google Sheets account, and yes, here you can see that in this Google spreadsheet, the same details are now added as a new row. Here you can see the same name which we have entered while making the form submission, the same email address, the same mobile number, company, and remark too. This means the automation workflow which we have created using Pabbly Connect, this automation is working perfectly fine. And using this automation, whenever we are going to receive a new form submission, a new entry in Typeform, automatically using email list verify, we are going to verify the email address which we have received from form submission. And if the email address entered by the person is a valid email, then we are going to add those Typeform responses in Google Sheet. Now guys, after setting up this automation, let's test this automation workflow once. We will just go to the Typeform which we have created. We'll just click on the start again. And then we are going to make another form submission over here. This time the name of the person is test user. And then we are going to enter the email address as this. This is the email address. This is a dummy mobile number which we will be entering. Click on OK. The company is, for example, MB. OK. And we are testing this automation. This is the description or the question which I'm going to enter. Click on submit. So just now we have clicked on submit over here. So we have just now received a new form submission, a new response in the form which we have created using Typeform. And as we receive this response, we will see, we'll go to a Google Sheet, and here in our Google Sheet, a new row of data is not added. The form responses are not added right now because the email address which we have entered was test@gmail.com, which is not a valid email address over here. That's why here you can see this is not a valid email address and the responses of form submission are not added. Now after this, let's make another form submission, and this time we are going to enter a valid email address. So we are just going to enter the details as, for example, dummy user. This is the name, and this time the email address of this person is, for example, okay, so this is the email address and it's a valid email address. Now let's click on the next, and the mobile number is, this time this is the mobile number, the dummy mobile number, and the phone number is not valid. So let me just change it, and here it is. The company name is, for example, Google. Let's click on OK. And at last, we are going to make another submission, for example, valid email. In this last field, we have entered valid email as the text. And then let's click on submit. Now, as we click on submit, you can see just now we have received another form response in Typeform. And because this time we have entered a valid email address while making the form submission, we will see the responses of this form submission will be added in Google Sheets. And yes, here you can see that dummy user with the same email address, same mobile number, same company, and same details, we have added the response of this user into the Google Sheet as a new row, because this time we have entered a valid email address while making the form submission. This means the automation workflow which we have created in this video, this automation is working perfectly fine. And using this automation, whenever we are going to receive a new form response, we are going to verify the email address, and we are going to add the details of a valid email address with the form submission responses into the Google Sheet as a new row. So not just these applications, you can connect plenty of other applications with Pabbly Connect. And one more important thing, you will find the clone link of this exact same workflow in the description box below. By clicking on that link, you can clone the same workflow into your own Pabbly Connect account and use this workflow for free.
If you have any kind of doubts or queries, you can post them on forum.pabbly.com. So if this video was helpful to you, you can obviously like this video, comment down your suggestion, and don't forget to share it with others. So guys, that's it for today's video. Thank you. Have a great day.